Hi everyone, I am back. And well, I haven't made a video in a while due to, well, my ever increasing schedule and also with the fact that I've wanted to make a few videos, but I don't know. A lot of them just didn't turn out, and I'm kind of waiting to have a bigger project later on this month. So, yeah. Anyway, today we are going to be reviewing Hawkeye Season 1, which was only 6 episodes, and well, I would say it did have a very satisfying ending. I also kind of felt like I did want more from this season, more so in terms of just the amount of episodes and the length of each. I found myself after each episode just wanting to hear the characters just simply talking to each other more, because in a lot of ways that was the most entertaining thing about this show. And that's not saying that the action was bad at all, because the action, quite frankly, is really good. A lot better than pretty much any other MCU show so far, at least in my opinion. And especially giving off the fact that I didn't really like What If and Loki. Well, let's just say I'm glad to see a Marvel show again that really, I guess, made me happy to watch every single week. This show also kind of has the benefit of playing off of more or less a brand new dynamic that we haven't really seen before in the MCU, having kind of a character that is the main character but also kind of a mentor on top of the person who is also kind of the main character and is trying to be a hero fitting into their role. And honestly, it works really well here, and I definitely appreciated it. Kate Bishop is insane, but is also one of the most relatable characters in the MCU so far. She honestly relates to the audience really well as just simply having a really good story to tell. And yeah, that's pretty much my highest praises of this show. The action is really good, just pretty much any scene in the show just had me really liking it. However, the show isn't perfect. In fact, it had a lot of stumbles all throughout, so let's mention them. To start off with, this show has probably like 4 or 5 villains in it, and not all of them are done as well as others. In fact, 2 of them turn good in the last episode, and one of them is fine and is built too naturally, but the other one just kind of turns good, and it's really weird. I feel like the character of Jack in this show was not really used as well as you thought he was going to be. In the first 2 episodes, you're introduced to him, and he really seems like somewhat of a menacing threat. But by the final episode, he's just kind of there, and it's honestly really disappointing, I guess. It's also troubling because of the fact that, well, they introduce a brand new villain in the final episode, and you can tell that he was just kind of thrown in there because they were forced to, and this was also a little bit troubling. Now, I understand why they had to put him in here, and honestly, it could have been worse, but a lot of people are mad about it, and honestly, I can understand why. I think that throwing in this villain at the very end, while understandable, also just resulted in making people mad, and honestly, it kinda hurt parts of the final episode. But the entire thing going on between Hawkeye and Yelena, which is introduced in this show, is really good. At first, I thought, this is just okay, but by the 4th episode, I was really appreciating it, and just as time, or the 5th episode, excuse me, by the 5th episode, I was really appreciating it, and just as time went on, I really liked the dynamic that these 2 characters brought with each other. I also kind of like that Hawkeye isn't necessarily invincible in this show. A lot of characters that are usually mentors in Marvel shows and movies typically end up acting almost invincible in them. As an example, Iron Man in Spider-Man Homecoming is pretty much invincible in every single way. He doesn't really feel like he's ever in danger in the movie. But in this case, Hawkeye gets his ass beat a lot, and it's really, well, kind of a good thing, because he's not invincible, and I like that the show decides to establish this. And it also makes the villains more of a menacing threat. But yeah, that is my overall takes on this show. Honestly, I would highly recommend watching it. This, for me personally, was the best MCU show so far, especially as someone who didn't really like Loki, and I'm excited to see what they do in the future. It doesn't look like there will be a season 2, but if there is, I will gladly turn it on. So I'm going to give Marvel Studios Hawkeye, let's say an 8 out of 10.